Thanks for stopping by Big Top Gaming. My name's Brian.
I'm Ethan.
And we've got another Warmachine battle report for you. This one's a 75-pointer, and it's between Protectorate and Skorne. So two factions that haven't seen a whole lot of play on the channel. At least I don't think they have, other than Harbinger, like all day, every day.
I mean, Harvey is not Menoth. She's just Harvey.
She's her own thing. She exists outside of it. But this was supposed to be like the first Protectorate game after I had picked up the army. A bunch of the people in the Protectorate Facebook group ended up voting that Malekus was what they wanted to see, which made a lot of sense because back then they had just updated the BattleBox casters. So here we are. It's BattleBox on BattleBox, and we're making good on a promise in quotes that we made a long time ago. Well, I made at least. Ethan doesn't want to be strapped to my bad decisions and only wants to be strapped to the good ones.
Exactly. I don't promise nothing.
So for the Protectorate list, I decided to put Malekus in Faithful Masses. Now, I'm not a...
That's a shocker.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm not the most, like, learned Protectorate player in the universe, but free initiates and buffs to Jax are good. So for his battle group, I've got a Hierophant, the Eye of Truth, which I really like a lot. I think it's just a cool looking Jack. It's also got a lot of really cool abilities. I just really like this thing. And then I'm also bringing along two Reckoners that'll help synergize with his feet a little bit. But then I've also got two Menite Archons, two Vassals, a Hermit, a Wrack, which I forgot to deploy. Then things get a little weird from here, where I've got a Deliverer Arms Master, a full unit of Holy Zealots with the Monolith Bearer, then Min Choir, double Initiates as rec options. My other requisition is the double Vassal. And then the final piece in here is the Deliverer Sunburst crew. So I've got 8 points that are just committed to this one big POW 15 gun that ends up going up to POW 17 and can be auto-boosted or additional die boosted on my feet turn. So I wanted to give that a try out. And the rest of it is the Holy Zealots are there for the same reason. You know, this used to be a real bugbear in ye old Mark II days. And of course you don't see them anymore because their stats aren't super great and they don't affect the game in a big way, at least on paper. But I decided to bring them here because maybe Malekus can give them some extra oomph with being able to get up to POW 16 between their prayers and the Menite Archon, and then having an additional die on the damage rolls from the feet. It just felt like a bunch of POW 16, POW 6. It's like walking around with a bunch of better slug guns, really is what it is.
Slug gun AoEs.
Yeah, slug gun AoEs. So that's the gist with this one. I think it's going to be a real blast to play this list.
And then this week, I'm piloting some Skorne, and I'm playing Beastmaster Xekaar.
I go with Xekaar, yeah.
Xekaar, that's how I'm going to say it, and then, like, I pronounce things wrong all the time, so I'm sorry.
Xekaar.
But I've been, like, really excited for him. Like, the changes for him are really cool. And then, if you haven't noticed on the screen, I'm also wanted to try out the brand new Death Archons with him, because I think they complement his feat very well. Like, there's a few Skorne casters that can really abuse Mortal Fear and all their abilities, and then just try and see where it goes for there. So I'm playing in Disciples of Agony, so that way I can get all the minion options. My battle group has Marketh, Agonizer, Brute, Warhog, double Roadhog. I have the Hermit, double Paingiver Taskmaster. I have Zaadesh 1 with a Terrorizer and Krea, which are both free, which is really spicy. And man, that's really fun for me to have free lights.
Yeah, real fun.
Yeah, double Death Archons. Min unit of Beast Handlers, unit of Valkyries, and then the Boil Master and Spirit Cauldron, the fuel the Archons, and then hand out Puppet Master where I need. So I feel like I have a really resilient army against melee. The Mortal Fear isn't going to be as valuable against Brian, so like if you, against the living army, like a lot of like Flames, any War Beasts, like you can stack the Feet for neg 3 strength, Mortal Fear for neg 2 strength, Agonizer for another neg 2, so now all of a sudden your opponent's army's neg 7 strength. Like, woo-wee, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty harsh.
And then, yeah, that's my list, and let's see how it plays into, like, your pseudo gun line.
It's an old-fashioned Warmachine list. It's got jacks, and it's got units, and it's got support, and that's just how you play Protectorate, at least in the olden days.
Sure.
So on the roll-off, I ended up winning to go first. Ethan didn't make it very easy for me because we both rolled a 5 right out of the gate, and then on the re-roll, I hit that 5 again, and Ethan couldn't quite match it. So it feels like it's been a long time since I've gone first, but here we are. So my deployment's kind of awkward, right? So I have a gun line-ish that doesn't have great access to Pathfinder, which is what my objective is for. Those 2 forests are really blocking off a whole big lot of the table, so I kind of have to work around it to where I can thread needles to make sure that I'm dodging the rubble that's in the center of the table and then making sure I can see around these forests. Ethan's kind of got a really good situation going on for him here with being able to protect his battle group and some of his more strong pieces behind the woods, and I've decided to kind of launch my Archons right up the middle of the table because I figure maybe they can get some nice charges on things that don't quite commit so far. And then Malekus just ends up throwing Banishing Ward on the Holy Zealots, and I believe I put Ignite on my Menite Archon that's not painted, that's in the middle of the table right now. I ended up arcing that through the Eye of Truth. And then the Zealots are just running up the middle. I think they're not in the greatest spot in the universe here, but I think I can go off one direction or the other to try and apply them where I would need to. And then I've got Paladins on each side of the table just ready to kind of shield guard some shots if they need to, even though you don't really have any shots to shield guard.
I have Valkyries.
Exactly, right?
And the ghost shot from Marketh.
From Marketh, yep. So you'll notice that I don't own a Deliverer Sunburst crew, so it's kind of a Razorback crew right now, and I don't have the Master, so that's also an Attendant Priest. So things are a little screwbally over here, but I'm just running up and presenting my army the best way.
So I deployed kind of symmetrically, Death Archon on the top, Death Archon on the bottom, Roadhog on the top and the bottom with the Warhog central. And here I'm going to spend a lot of time turn 1 measuring how far I can get my Death Archons up behind the woods, out of line of sight of charging, because his Menite Archon walking through the woods threatens 8. Mine threatens 9 because of 3-inch melee. So I figured if I can get up and kind of bully the zones, I can... Oh, and there we pushed the whole table.
Yeah, Janessa showed up and tectonic shifted. You were up against the wall, so you were like having problems bumping into the chair that I've positioned over there for you. So I was like, I will just slide it up. I fix it in the next turn, but for right now, it's just going to look a little weird.
So I pop... 1 corpse on the pot, which gives it to the Death Archon on top, which are proxied by Morrowinds because Death Archons we don't have yet.
No, I don't even think they've actually shipped it from anywhere, period. So
yeah, we'll see when those come in. So now I'm just keeping a Roadhog on the bottom out of threats. I put up the Krea to put up Force Aura, just basically in case he gets cheeky with the Deliver Hamburger unit.
Yeah.
And then I did put Tough on the top Archon with the Taskmaster because that's something cool you can do. You can just give Archons Tough because it doesn't say living. It just says non-warrior or non-warlock minion warrior unit. So that's also one of the tricks in here. Like I can give them Tough. I have no sleeping on the job for the Valkyries. I can give the Death Archons +2 strength. So now all of a sudden they're swinging at POW 17s. POW 19s if I get a mortality out. POW 21 if by some miracle I get the Hermit out. So
we also have another point of order. I've been rearranging the gaming area to such an extent that I can't find my Xekaar or my Cyclops Brute. So there's a Raider on the table that's a Brute, and you can see Morgul 1 in the middle of the table that's actually Xekaar. They both had freaky hands, but that's another thing I wanted to clear up.
Yeah, I forgot I was going to bring that up because I wanted to play wacky inflatable 2 of hands, and instead you gave me Edward Scissored hands.
I know, they're both hands guys, so, I guess Xekaar was too busy hanging out in some used car lot somewhere.
Basically. So I only walked up 7. I didn't repo the full distance. I kind of just tucked around because you can't see it, but I got a shield guard behind me. I got the Hermit in sack pawn range. So, like, I'm not scared of getting shot to death top of 2, but I'm just kind of respecting his threats and trying to leverage for when the lines engage.
So turn 2's come around, and I kind of realized my folly with the location of my Archons and the forest here. I probably could have been a little bit more mindful on positioning them where Ethan couldn't just kind of dangle out this 9-inch casual walk threat range with these Death Archons. So what I've decided to try and do here is I've got goals of trying to pull down either the Warhog or the Roadhog. The issue with the Warhog right now is that it's got one shield guard by it, and it's also just like my army needs to contort in ways that I don't think is going to really work out so well for me. So I feel like maybe going after the Roadhog is probably going to be the better deal here. I don't know if I'll quite be able to pull it down from ranged, but we're definitely going to give it our best try, and then the rest of this is just trying to kind of figure out where all of these Menite Archons need to go exist, because with the Death Archons having the Animosity Archon deal... Vendetta, sorry. Well, they have Animosity Archon, but they also have Vendetta.
They have Animosity non-Death Archon.
Gotcha, yeah, so they can hold hands.
Yes.
If they could, because they've got two sides in them. But I decided to use the Holy Zealots to kind of be a body block behind the wood. So Ethan, of course, is going to be able to get corpses off of them if he comes up. But this way I've got my Monolith Bearer tucked way in the back so that I can probably start to get them to come back a little bit. And you can see how confident I am that my Menite Archon is in a good spot. I decide to juke him back a little bit to make sure that if the Death Archon comes up, Ethan's going to take some of Menoth's hot fury to his face. But it's Operation Get Behind the Zealots, because that's kind of what their job is, for right now at least. I mean, if Ethan doesn't come into them, it means that I've still got a bunch of AoEs that I can toss out that'll get a lot of benefit from the Menite Archon and the feet and all that other stuff, like their prayers and everything. So I feel like they have to be respected, but we'll kind of see how that ends up playing out. I think now I'm really just like going back and forth in my head of how I want to do things with Malekus. He's got a lot of really cool abilities, and the changes to his battle box version that he had when he initially came out were massive. Like, I feel like Malekus just became a really good warcaster with the buffs here. Like, being able to cast a spell for free is awesome.
Yeah, but all of his abilities are really good.
They are, and his spell list is legit. I mean, like, he is the full package now. And maybe when his new model comes out, I won't have to refer to him only as chicken legs. But the Paladins come up here on the side. I figure they're a nice unit to try and get Ethan to pull some shots into them, because I'm going to essentially keep a lot of my Warjacks behind those. So I'm either going to be teasing out his topside Menite Archon with them, or he's going to be having some of his heavies come into them, and that'll just get my Jacks angry, it'll get my Menite angry, and it'll just be rough.
And then here, you wanted to shoot the Warhog, but then I was like, I'm tucked behind the wall, so I would be def 16. I have Force Aura up, so I'd be def 18 against shooting. Like, you didn't realize how the wall was positioned, so I think you do change where you go with the Jack.
I think the Reckoner... I tried to shift him a little bit, but then I ended up taking the shot anyways, because I'm like, well, I can't really get anywhere else where I want to be, so I'm just going to take the shot and see what happens. And it was at that point that I realized that we're just not going to be able to pull down a Warbeast this turn. Like, there was a chance maybe I could hit the Warhog back there, but between Force Barrier and the wall, it just wasn't meant to be, and there was no way I could get around the forest to be able to see the Roadhog. But I've decided to go with the next Reckoner, who's battled, of course, because you can just assume that. And he rips a massive damage roll on the Warhog, or on the Roadhog. It was at dice +1.
Dice -2.
With the Roadhog in battle, 17 up to 19, or no, 14 up to 16. I'm thinking of melee. So it's dice off 2. And
you can see my grid. Like, his body is out to the box. You rolled like a 14.
Yeah, it was massive. So that was a really, really good shot here. And I've decided now that Malekus can go up, and I think I wanted to open fire, but maybe I did and just didn't realize where I put it. Whoops. It went somewhere.
You went for the Warhog again, and you missed.
Yeah, that's right. Dumb Brian.
So yeah, I was not expecting the damage roll to get cranked on the Roadhog top of 2, But now, like, I'm trying to figure out how can I position my army so that way, like, I can abuse the Force a little bit more. I don't want to send in the Death Archons this turn. Like, I really need to hold them back for the Menites, because a Menite that gets enraged with Ignite, hands down, like, just plunks a Death Archon. So I can't let him get into me. So now I'm just trying to figure out what I want to do with Xekaar. Like, I'm thinking, like, can I proc Alpha Hunter? If I can proc Alpha Hunter, I can get the Warhog onto the objective or onto the Reckoner. But I'm just out of being able to walk and punch those dudes, because I took Pathfinder as well and gave it to Xekaar. And now, like, I can't walk and punch those dudes. They prayed for warding this turn. So, like, I can't really do any spells to them. And I'm just trying to figure out, and then I see, like, oh, there's a choir back there. Like, I can walk up, get within 10. He's in cover, so I would need a boosted 10. But if I can deadweight him, I can deadweight the Archon to make it so the Archon can't move, and then that lets me, or can't swing. And then that means I can put my Death Archon even more up.
Yeah, there's like 3 members of the choir and a vassal that are caught in that too, and I can't remember if Deadweight deals with Jax too, but
it does. You just pick a model within 2.
Yeah, the Eye of Truth is in there too, so you've got like a big pile of stuff to choose from.
So what I do is I Puppet Master him from the pot because I had a line. The Agonizer puts up the aura for 1 just so I can maltreat him, and I Harmonious him from Marketh. So like I
have Aptimus Marketh. It might not be Supreme.
So I have all the buffs I can on him. I'm sitting at Fury 7 because of Maltreat. I do 2 damage to my Agonizer. I go for a 1 cost deadweight because of the -2. Boost the hit. Need a 10. Miss. I Puppet Master it. I hit. And now I'm like, do you want to Hermit this? So I'm like, he can Hermit it. But now I'll be getting rid of the Hermit just for a choir member.
Yeah, well, it's more than that, right? It's another activation, which is actually valuable. So I do end up hermiting this, and then your next one, you just take I think you went back and forth on that for a while of whether you take another boosted.
No, I was going for another boost because now I'm sitting on 2.
Yep,
and I missed. And now I'm like, okay, if now that this didn't work, I can't get the objective. I can't get the Jack in the middle of the zone. So I'm like, do I go for an unboosted 10? Because like if this hits, I kill a choir member, I lock down the top zone, and I score point in the middle, and I can try and push the bottom zone. So like in my head, if I get this, I can potentially go up 2 points and have a heavy bury deep and have the top zone on lock from his Archon, and then I miss. So now I'm camping 0, but with Repo 5, I'm able to tuck away. I'm repoing to basically base with the Death Archon outside 10, because he can give that Jack Pathfinder and then trample to me. So now my plan is just like Operation keep my caster alive. I'd really hoped like with Alpha Hunter and Deadweight to be able to leverage some of his kit this turn, but Hermit just kind of stops that. Actually,
well, the Hermit stopped it for a second, and then your bad dice stopped it for you the rest of the time.
I mean, it was a 50-50 shot. So now here, I'm putting up a Roadhog. I'm seeing, okay, which ones are within 5 of the Archon for Field of Flames, because that's usually how I kill Initiates. So I opt to boost on 2 of the Initiates, and I think originally I decided just to boost on 3 of them.
Yeah, the one furthest down on the screen is not in Field of Flames.
And I miss the Zealot unboosted, needing a 7. I miss the 2 Initiates that are in Field of the Flames with a boosted 8, and then I hit the boosted 8 on the one that's outside of Field of Flames, and then I do no damage with the boosted damage.
Yep, so that's 4 Fury for I'm on fire.
Yep, 4 Fury for I'm on fire at dice -7.
And it's the one
that's dice -9.
It's also the one that's outside Fuel of Flames too, so it's even like more demeaning.
Yep, so now I'm just running up my shield guards just to keep them in range, and now I'm walking my Force Aura bot up just to give him Force Aura. And I think partway through this turn, you remind me you have Scourge, because you were like, oh, can Xekaar be knocked down? And I'm like, oh, crap, he has Scourge.
Yep.
So now I'm like, I need to block line of sight to him. I know he can go and Scourge his own dudes, but then like that's less attacks on me.
The only thing better than Scourge is Free Scourge.
Yes. So now like I'm doing some Beast Handler stuff, just walking up, doing some heals. Actually, I think I'm doing Zaadesh right now. He's putting up 4 Sora on that side of the table, and now I'm doing the Beast Handlers to heal some stuff. And like in my head, I thought I could still get the Warhog with Rush, so I ended up like rushing him, but like he's just an inch out. Like I needed Alpha Hunter. It was the
dead weight is what you needed to make that happen.
Yep, or the +2 speed from the Roadhog or the Roadhog, but I didn't really measure to see if it was in because I need that Roadhog in the top zone. Because like it's pretty much half dead or third dead. It took 12 damage, which took out it's 28 boxes, so it's almost half dead. But like I need it contesting that zone with the Death Archon, so I run up the Warhog just to block line of sight around the woods, keeping outside Scourge range, just to try and keep my caster a little bit safe. It's worth noting I did not feat with Xekaar because I want to hold it, and I don't think melee's what's gonna kill me, or even like. The neg 3 rats are relevant if you Scourge me. So I figured it would be better just to hold the feat. I give tough to that top Archon, and now I'm debating like how far away do I keep it. I wanted to leverage it farther, but now I can't because there's no dead weight up there. And I'm like, okay, this Jack can trample 8, which goes down to 4, and it has reach, so it can threaten 6. But if I stay outside 6, I don't threaten the whole zone, which means then the Menite can come up to the zone. So I opt to be in trample punch threat, but it needs an 8. So I figured I could maybe live. And now there I'm doing the same thing as the bottom. Just hoping. The goal is to boost damage on the Field of Flame guys. Probably won't kill at dice -7. But if I can get them down to 1 or 2 boxes, then maybe Fire can spike and kill them without proccing his abilities. So I believe I do 3 to the front one and miss the other ones just because Rat 5 sprays aren't what they used to be.
Okay, so coming into my turn, there was a lot more that could have happened there that didn't, so I'm pretty happy with the way things are set up right now. I got a couple guys on fire, so I decided to roll those checks real quick, or at least I do when I figure out that I need to roll them, because it was at least pretty early in the turn. Yeah, here we go. The fire's all up, and none of them take any damage from... Well, one of them took 2 damage. The one on the bottom of the zone that didn't have anything done to him took nothing, or took damage, but the one in the top didn't take anything at all.
He took 1, so now that guy's down to 1 box.
Gotcha. Okay. So Ethan's got a lot of his army up here. That Warhog is something that I really want to get rid of. Like, I think if I can try and start peeling away the heavies, those are some of the things that are more threatening to my army. Like, I know the Death Archons are really scary and dangerous, but I feel like if I get rid of 2 heavies this turn, it's going to be really hard for Ethan to try and deal with my Arm 21 and Arm 19 heavies. And then on top of that, Malekus can just really, like, put a lot of extra output with these guys to do more work with them between open fire and the feet. So I'm trying to think of, this is like my commitment turn where I'm like, or not commitment turn, this is more of like my theory chamber turn where I feel like I'm giving myself like 3 minutes, and I'm going to say, can I engineer an assassination on Xekaar and make this work for me? So I kind of wanted to think about how I wanted to figure out how to go about this. There was the option of having the Eye of Truth charge into the Warhog and then kill it, but then that just gives you transfers, and that Roadhog in the top zone is a fresh transfer target for you. Well, not fresh transfer, it's taken a lot of damage. But then outside of that, you've also got a Raider. Or not a Raider, you have a Brute, so that could soak up a lot of damage too. Like, I wasn't so worried about the Roadhog in the top zone because I felt like I might be able to take it out, but giving you transfers for the Brute would not be super great because that thing's got, what, 19 boxes, 18, something like that? It's in the high teens, I believe.
It's 22, and it's worth noting, like, the Death Archon on the bottom put up Mortal Fear.
Yeah.
Just so if you wanted to throw any bombs on me with the Zealots, there would be neg 2 POW.
Yep, and that's definitely something to consider as well. So then I had thought about maybe I can just run some Zealots in there and then knock him down and then have Malekus throw like a Brand of Fire into him. And I think I mathed it out to where I'd have a couple. But now that all the time's gone by, I've said this really isn't an actionable plan. I'm putting a lot of effort into this idea, and what I really should be doing is, since I've got a little bit of a advantage on the attrition plan with how much damage I've done to that Roadhog in the top zone already, I might as well just kind of keep going for that play. So I'm just going to attrition.
Yep, you shot it with another Reckoner, left it on 7, then you brand fired it and left it on 1.
Yeah, that was I was really hoping to get a little bit more efficiency out of that one here because I was able to arc node brand fire through the Eye of Truth into the Roadhog and then start another beast handler on fire, but leaving it on 1 was a real big bummer. Getting maybe it might have been worth sacrificing the Menite Archon to just get up there and get fuel for the flames out there to do the extra damage, but that was something that I didn't think I needed to do at the time. So I do end up putting into action the trample into the Death Archon and punch it. I end up connecting and leave it on 4 boxes, which it was real dicey that I was going to be able to get this thing in the first place, but it was worth a shot, and now it's engaged by a Reckoner, so there's that. Next up, I end up shooting off the Paladins into the top zone Paladins into the Warhog just to try and soften it up a little bit for the Eye of Truth. I'm not able to get those free charges with Malekus's battle group right now because I've decided to use a bunch of free spells, but I've got him battled, I've got him fully loaded, and we charge into the Roadhog. Unfortunately, not able to get the weapon or his shield in because I'm not close enough, but my charge attack ends up missing. And then I hit my next initial, and so we're swinging at POW 20, but with the Agonizer there I end up going down another 2. So we're just really at dice damage on these, and I was really hoping to be able to get some more work done on that, but I missed my last attack as well. So in my mind's eye, I really thought that this Warhog was going to go down this turn to the Paladins and the Eye of Truth, but it just didn't, and it ended up not happening. So my big attrition push this turn has really just been killing the random Roadhog because I launched a shot from, I think, the
Reckoner.
The Reckoner. That's
right. And you
in
did
the
feet
zone
for the extra damage too.
Yeah. So right now, the way that it sits, I've traded my feet for a beat up Roadhog, which is not the greatest feeling in the universe. So I decide to chew up my clock a little bit by throwing some AoEs, hoping to get some scatters onto either the Hermit or hitting maybe some like lucky direct shots on that Warhog to try and take it down. It doesn't have a ton of boxes left, but enough to where like this is probably not the greatest plan in the universe. So we start throwing a bunch of those, and nothing really connects with him or does any damage to him. I think I might plug him for a couple here and there.
Yeah, with Mortal Fear negating your +2 prayer, your bombs are only POW 6, so it's dice -12.
Yep, and I don't have a Menite Archon up there to give me any fuel for the flames, so these guys are really just like throwing water balloons for the most part. They're Menoth's water balloons of fury.
I mean, they're 3 dice thanks to feet, so it's like you could spike.
Yeah.
And if you hit, it's going to hurt. But I don't think you hit any of them.
No, I don't think a single one connected. So next up, I put the Paladins a little bit closer in the middle of the zone. This is more just kind of teasing Ethan to pull that Archon down towards the bottom, and that way I can leave my Archon, I can send my Archon into him and start doing some work down there too. So taking a look around at what's been going on for this turn, I'm just kind of trying to figure out where this bottom Archon needs to go. And I think that even though I said I was trying to tease that Archon out on the bottom, I decide that maybe it's better to not watch Ethan roast the bottom of the table with the Roadhog and then kill the rest of it with the Death Archon. So I just move him to the middle of the table.
So Brian's feet turn could have went a lot worse for me. So one beast handler in the back dies the fire, and its corpse goes to the pot. And the soul goes to Marketh. I think I didn't realize at first that the corpse would go to the pot, so I handed it to him eventually.
Yeah, you get to double dip real nice with those two back there.
Mm-hmm. And the fire check did a couple points of damage to the Roadhog or the Warhog because it couldn't go out. So now I'm trying to think of some cute stuff I can do here. I'm like, he gave me 2 Archons over here. I can fly, take a free strike. Or I'm trying to see if I can stay engaged with his reach and not take a free strike, which I can't. And I'm only on 4 boxes. So like a free strike just needs a 6 to hit.
Yeah, they're mat 6 up to 8, so it would need a 6 to connect with your def 14.
Mm-hmm. But I have some plans for that. So I could give him tough, hope he toughs the free strike. Instead, I give him +2 strength, because I'm going to be banking on Brian missing the free strike, because my plan is to feat this turn and give him -3 mat. That way, now his free strike needs a 9 to hit, and then like if it connects, I'm gonna die. But if I can get both of his Archons with my Death Archon, like the risk is worth it, especially since I need to start fighting back now that I'm down a heavy.
Yeah, it's not a bad risk.
I mean, if that Death Archon goes down, though, I lose the top zone. So, like, that's the risk. Like, if it dies now that the Roadhog is dead, like, that top zone, you can swing your Choir up, and then, like, I'm screwed.
I guess, I mean, math-wise, it's not a bad risk. But, yeah, losing the Archon up there would be very not good for you. But a 9...
Yeah, after I missed a boosted 10 and an unboosted 10 on you last turn,
if I can miss my non-boosted 5s, then I'm pretty sure I'll have issues with the 9. That Eye of Truth was just so sad.
And then there, I'm realizing the pot could walk over the wall, Spectral Lash his Archon to pull it into range to maybe not have to take a free strike. And I'm like, no, this is dumb. I'm just going to give, because I would need to boost the hit and need an 8 because I Ashen Veil, and then like it's partially in the rubble, so I opt just to give Puppet Master to the Death Archon. And you can see I kind of put a proxy base in there, and now like moving what's actually going to be there. But I need to do some other stuff first, because that's where I need to stand to feet to catch the top jack. So I'm doing the Agonizer trick again. Agonizer goes, does the aura, I'm out. And then Marketh goes, and Harmonious is me. And now I go, and I punch the front Initiate, because I have reach. Kill him with a Webmaster, so I make the Archons angry. But now I have Alpha Hunter procced, which helps negate Ashen Veil on Hand of Faith or Eye of Faith.
The Ashen Veil is just on Eye of Truth. Sorry,
Eye of Truth. So now like I got that procced, and I'm like, okay, I can Mortality the Jack because he battled. I hit. It's in melee, so with Ashen, so I had the boost hit. 'Cause I'm only magic ability 6, and now here I'm debating like, can I Mortality that Archon? And I'm like doing out the math, and I'm like, wait, can I even see it? And at this point, I'm like, no.
Yeah, between the Warhog and the Eye of Truth, the Menite Archon's pretty blocked up.
Yep, if the Hermit had gone first, I could have moved farther. And I'm like, well, I can't really do anything with my Fury over here. So I'm just like...
I think you just like toss a Mortality out for funsies on the Eye of Truth to make it easier to take down.
Well, I did that first.
Oh, sorry. I forgot what you floated your Fury into then.
I honestly can't remember. We just played the same. Because I Mortality'd the Jack...
And you Mortality the Paladins. Like, those are the two things that Mortality went into, so whatever happened.
Oh, yeah. And I missed the Paladins, so I was like, okay, I'll just camp one. So now Terrorizer goes up, kills a dude, and eventually I'm going to realize the corpse goes to the Cauldron.
Yep, this is where you get to go green and reduce, recycle, and reuse the corpses and souls.
Basically. So now Beast Handlers go up, give him +2 strength. Now I've cleared a landing spot for him because the Initiates were in the way with my 1-inch melee. So I decide to Aggression Dial. And now he takes damage at the end of turn. So I hit because I'm at 8 thanks to Alpha Hunter. And then I'm POW 16 with the Cleaver base. Aggression Dial up to 18. Beast Handler up to 20, and then he has Mortality, so I'm effectively POW 22, so I'm dice +1 with his shield, and it takes 2 bot attacks to kill him. I buy an attack into an Initiate, I hit, I kill, just to try and clear some stuff. I was hoping I had snacking. I forgot to roll the damage for him, but I do that at the end of the turn. So now the Death Archon floats up, decides to take that free strike, and now Brian's doing the math, and he misses with a 7.
Yeah, unfortunate, but... You know, if your feet wasn't up, then it would have connected. But otherwise, you got me there.
Yep. So now I'm positioned in a way with 3-inch melee where I catch both Archons and the Jack, because I'm hoping to stationary all 3 of them. And then if I get lucky and cripple like the Cortex on the Jack or its sword, then like maybe my Archon could live longer. And you can see like I'm doing the Vendetta attacks. That one just blows it up on the back Archon at dice -4 because they're angry. I did 11 damage. The front Archon, not so much. It's on like half health, but now it's stationaried. The second one I kill because I spike sword in the first one, and then I stationary the Jack. But I think I crippled its movement, but like that's kind of irrelevant. So now I got to worry about the Jack killing me, but I did position in a way so like if he wanted to try and get into my rear arc or out of my feet, he would take a free strike with my spectral placing ability I used this turn because I popped Mortal Fear and then I popped the place ability, and I opted to do it after the second attack. That way I could place back deeper into my feet. So if he wants to get out or go around me, he takes a free strike. And now I'm doing the Roadhog trick on the bottom, who he aims this time, but he misses the Initiate. Or he misses the Zealot again. And then I'm boosting some damage on the dudes, doing no damage after I miss a couple of them aiming. I've been spoiled with Roadhogs in the past. Like I used to play them with Arcadius. So when you do raw adrenaline sprays and they're fully boosted, like going from that to just normal Rat 5 sprays, it feels bad, man.
Yeah, Rat 5 is like, that's where you're fishing for the hit, not really like counting on it at all.
So I did the Valkyries first. They were able to kill a dude, which got a corpse to the Death Archon. That way I could pop Annihilator before, because he only had no corpses after Mortal Fear last time. He hits, and I believe he kills one of these.
Yeah, I think you kill the fire one, and then the other one you don't break armor on, or you leave it on a couple boxes or something. Oh no, you get it.
I actually killed both.
Yeah, you did.
So now, like, I
this
roll
is your
trip.
second threshold.
Yep, second
This is the one
thresher.
that lived.
I trip ones his stupid Initiate.
Yep.
So, like, I only did 2 damage. So now I can't score the bottom zone because I had the Valks in there. So I'm like, I thought I was going to go up on scenario this turn, but you trip ones in the Initiate, and that's life.
Yeah, you throw enough dice, you're bound to get the triple ones.
And now I'm just bricking up in the middle. Like, I got my Brute up there within 3. I'm putting up another Force Aura bubble. The Hermit's running around to be within 3 for sack pawn, and I'm just passing clock. And still 0 points.
So Ethan's passed it over to me with 4 minutes. I'm up almost 5 over him, right? 20? Yeah, that's math. So
yeah, I really thought I was going to score the scenario and then like force you to try and score it back. So I thought like me going low on clock would be fine.
Yeah, but with no points on the board on either side, it makes it so that I'm not as under pressure as I would be if there was one on there. So I feel like I've got a little bit of comfort room, some breathing room here to figure out what it is I'm going to do. That Death Archon's in the top zone, so I feel like there's only a couple things left in there that are really like that are really holding it down. So I end up going up with my Vassal and topping off the Reckoner in the top zone, and then the Choir go up in battle because I really don't have any reason to be doing anything else with them right now. And in terms of allocation, the other nothing really got allocated. The double Vassal in here is just like clutch for being able to get these Reckoners like ready and raring to go. So we move on to the Reckoner in the top zone, and I'm just going to take this opportunity to punch the Void, or not the Void, the Death Archon down. So I end up connecting, and then I like kind of go back and forth. Should I boost it? Should I not boost it? And then I'm just like, well, it's dice off 3, and I just need to roll a 7 to kill you. So I end up boosting and get that Death Archon out of there.
Yep, you hit the boosted 11. I hit it through my feet.
Yep.
And it's where though you did allocate to it so it could shake knockdown.
Yeah, that's right.
And then get Vassal to be full focus, so it would gonna have 2 boosted chances.
Yep.
I just needed you to miss that coin flip.
Yeah, I'm happy that I got that down, but so now I just got to deal with that Paingiver in the top corner. But if you'll notice, kind of what ended up happening here is since I shot those Paladins off, and my Choir have been digging around in the dirt for a while, they aren't actually able to get into that zone. So I don't need to really focus a ton of effort into clearing the zone completely because I really won't score it this turn. So next up, I ended up lobbing a shot. Maybe I didn't lob the shot with them. I think I shot with the Sunburst crew because I was like trying to deal with this Roadhog, or not Roadhog, the Warhog in the middle. Again, I'm still just on this kick of like I want to try and kill the heavies because I still have 2 full-ish health heavies are fully functional for sure. And one Menite Archon, if I can try and take away the threats from the middle because my Archon's stationary right now, then I feel like that's going to be able to put me in a position to make sure that I can control the top zone and control the middle. And then Ethan's got to either get really, really gutsy with his Warlock, or he has to be really careful with it and run it away. So next up, I ended up moving a couple Zealots out of the way to take free strikes, and then I removed the Paladin to take free strikes, and I'm like, this is where we're going to make the Zealots come alive. I did the Greater Destiny, or Manifest Destiny, whatever it is. I think it's Greater Destiny, where you get to pull back the ones that were killed previously, and since Ethan pulled 3 of those down, I get 3 more shots to go into the Archon. Unfortunately, with Ethan's feat, the Zealots just aren't quite doing it. I was fishing for some good hits here, and then maybe some scatters and high spikes on the damage rolls to try and get some more work on those. But I think I needed a 12 or a 10 to do damage.
You got the Hermit up.
Yeah.
I propped Mortal Fear, so it negated your +2. So from your prayer, so they were POW 6 blast damage to my armor 15. So yeah, it was dice -9.
They'd POW 8 all day, but because your Mortal Fear and my
+2 negate,
and then the
POW
Hermit
6
pulls it up to POW 8.
Yeah, I was doing my math down because I'm armor 17 down to 15.
Sure. So anyways, they don't really do anything to him. So next I try to take some of these other ones to start throwing bombs into the Warhog, and I do a little bit of damage, but not enough to really write home about anything. So now I'm like, okay, well, I guess the Reckoner has to go and takes a shot, and I believe the Reckoner ends up missing. And I just pass turn because I'm running out of things to do here.
Yeah, the Warhog was left on 6 boxes, and importantly enough, Brian did not contest the bomb zone, so I auto-scored a point. I'm going to auto-score on the end of my turn, so now I'm like, okay, if I can spend my 3-ish minutes left just clearing everything over there that can contest, that means I can just have the bottom zone on lockdown. So I go up, I pop Annihilator, I'm just doing Threshers.
Yeah, so you're clearing out Zealots left and right down here because I really didn't position these guys with the intention of them surviving for later, but then I just like totally whiffed the math on how they were hitting. So I think you've wiped out just about every Zealot except for the 3 that are in the center zone.
Yep, and it's worth noting I stationaried the Hermit because I double tapped him, so now he can't get into the zone. I'm engaging the weapon crew so it can't get in the zone. And now I'm just going to basically be like, okay, I just have to, I walk up, and now I'm running them around so you can't get into it from the circle. I'm running him up so that way they're tough, no knockdown, thanks to no sleeping on the job. I'm running him just to engage. That way, like, they'd eat a free strike if they want to go. Xekaar heals the beast for 4, walks into the zone, and now I'm just going to try and boost a couple attacks, kill the Archon.
That Archon only has like 6 boxes left, I think. So yep. you end up crushing it and yeeting him off the table.
I missed the first one through Ashen. I boost the second cleaver. I boost damage. I kill. And now I just run some dudes. Well, those dudes have to walk, but the Man-Eater guy runs up to the top. Now I'm just running Beast Handlers. And like my clock's ticking down, but my goal is now to not have to do anything on my next turn. Like I pull in Fury, that's it. And I have 20 seconds to do that.
So coming around to my turn, I've still got 7 minutes on the clock, so I've got some opportunity to do some things. But there's that Death Archon in the bottom is really like harshing my chill. He's like with the 3-inch melee and Mortal Fear being up there, it really makes it difficult to get rid of. I have the Reckoner over there, but I really would rather have the Reckoner doing something different, maybe trying to go and take out the rest of this Warhog or something like that. And I've got the top Reckoner I need to allocate fully to so that he can try and bust up the top of this zone, because I feel like the Choir can start actually getting in there. So if it came down to like time and points, then I could start actually getting some points up there. So I believe what ended up happening there was the
The Vassal tried to...
Yeah, the Vassal tried to do... This is my favorite thing to do with Vassals. People forget that they have Arcane Bolt at Magic Ability 6. So his goal was to just try and crack the coin flip 7 on that Taskmaster and roast it. Unfortunately, I rolled a 6 and missed, so he didn't quite get to do quite what he wanted to. The Reckoner ends up charging out of the rubble. I didn't give him Pathfinder. I did it to Malekus instead. And he ends up getting rid of the Warhog pretty handily. Like, he didn't need as much focus as he actually had on him. So now that is one less thing that I need to worry about. So not that it matters as much because Ethan's got so little time left that even having a heavy would probably be worse for him than it was good for him to have it gone right.
Yeah, because now I don't got to do anything with Fury next turn.
Exactly. So next up, Malekus puts Ignite on himself for free and decides to pull up his Foghorn Leghorn pants and go to town on this Death Archon. So we end up doing a pretty decent damage roll on the initial hit, and then we boost to hit the second one and connect. And now we've cracked the damage roll. So if anything in this game, I can say that Malekus got to destroy a Death Archon, which is pretty fun.
Yep, he killed it through Mortal Fear, and he was just out of Agonizer range, but you blew up that second damage roll. And now here you're trying to shoot an AoE into there.
Yep, and I probably would have been better suited running the crew member into this zone because I'm still not contesting it, and for whatever reason, like, I'm thinking maybe I can just get rid of all of the Valkyries, but I think it's that Gunbjorn game that's kind of tilting my perspective on that one. So I end up forcing Tough on one of them, and she makes it. And then the rest of these are all on fire, and I don't kill the Taskmaster either. So it's an unfortunate situation in that bottom zone there. And then the Reckoner in the top just takes like forever to kill this pot for whatever reason. Like it's like banging a drum. And it takes a little while for him to do that, and I don't have enough focus to really do anything else. Since we're so low on time on both sides, we just keep the camera running, and I've completely run out of time. But when we take a minute here to kind of talk about what the game would look like if time weren't a factor, and I really feel like Ethan's kind of got a good position here to be able to try and get my objective and score out the game because I can't clear the top zone the way I want to. Ethan just has to kind of like run the Taskmaster around and keep denying me that top zone. Zaadesh can come in there eventually and do that too. And then on the bottom zone, I think Ethan might have an opportunity to be able to take out the Hermit because it's only got 3 boxes left. And then the Roadhog should be able to come in and take out my objective, which would put you up at 5 points to my 0.
Yeah, because at the end of your turn, I went to 3, and then at the end of my turn, I'm going to auto go to 4.
Yep.
So basically, all I had to do was run to engage your stuff.
Yep.
And then, like, I would win. But the way the fire checks work, like, you were down to a second. I roll if fire goes out on my clock, but then you roll damage on your clock. So then, like, it clocks you. Otherwise, like, I just end my turn. But without clock there, yeah, it turned into a real grind. Like when I screwed up, or I didn't screw up, but I missed the deadweight play, just missing a boosted 10, and then an unboosted 10, and then like your Eye of Truth just flubbing the hit rolls on my Warhog, so he lived.
I feel like if I could have taken out the 2 heavies that turn, that would have put me in a much different position than what I was in, because then the Eye of Truth doesn't go down anywhere, and he's got another threatening gun that can walk around because he does have a POW 14 strapped to his forehead. And then just having another POW 20 Warjack running around makes it so that a lot of your support pieces start falling down, and I can try and take over the center zone. But just not having the dice show up for me on that one really hurt him.
Yeah, like I would basically have to abandon the middle, and then like I just gotta basically hope you can't clear the middle zone, just throw lights in the way, and then try and push from the bottom while hiding on the top with my dudes that are still alive. Like I'd really hoped you would miss the boosted 11 under my feet to kill that Death Archon up there. That way you would have to send something over.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what else could actually kill him up there because he's in the woods. I guess he technically wouldn't have been engaged because you're stationary, but I would have been def 16 against shooting. And then that's like a coin flip.
Yeah, it is. It's no matter what, it was just like I needed the rolls to go well on everything that happened in that top zone, and it did show up just a little bit later than what I had hoped. I really wanted to make sure that my Archon stuck around since they really didn't do much this game. I was always worried about that Death Archon just getting unpacked into them, so they weren't able to be super duper active. Also, I do feel like the Zealots kind of got really. I feel like they have some business, but in this game with that with the Death Archon running around, they just had their number. They're low defense, low armor. Their ability is really controlled by your opponent, which I feel like is probably one of their biggest flaws. It's like in Mark II, they were a problem because they could bring back all of them that had died throughout the entire game. But at least I believe that's the way it works.
That's how it used to be.
And then now it's your opponent has control over it. So if you kill like 2 or 3 a turn, I really have to measure that value against the 3 points that I pay for that Monolith Bearer. So I think that it just feels not super great. So they were like 15 points that really weren't able to do what I wanted them to. And when I sit here and look at it, they probably could have been better served as being another Reckoner or something.
Yeah, especially because they had to fight through Mortal Fear. They had to shoot through my feet, and then like the woods there was really cramping their style because they can do like you did the math, like the Rat 5,
POW 16s.
Yeah, POW 16s, additional die under feet, like that can do work, but they're just range 6 and Rat 5. Like it's just they're there to die and get in the way, and you don't want them dying against me because you don't want to just trivially load up my Death Archon on corpses, but like they have to come up eventually, and then like that last turn the Death Archon just kind of double threshered and killed 7 of them.
Yeah, you just like it was like
because he got the Monolith Bearer.
A leaf blower basically. So overall, I think the game was a decent one. I do think that I hate saying dice shift games so much, but I think that middle part with the Eye of Truth was a real big slip in the game. Like it definitely pushed it over one direction, or it pushed it over the side a little bit to being more favored for you after that happened, especially when the Eye of Truth went down, right?
Yeah, as soon as I like missed the dead weight, then it was shifted to you because now you're in control. Like I'm on 0 camp, you could try and kill me, but like I have sack pawn, so like the guns weren't probably gonna do it. So I had to throw up a heavy in front of me, which meant like you had the opportunity of killing my 2 of my heavies, and then like that swings the game heavy in your distance because I was like, I wasn't even thinking about the Eye of Truth. I didn't measure to see if he was in charge range because originally I ran the Warhog like base to base with me, and I was like, oh, I'm out. But then I was like, oh wait, Scourge doesn't have to hit or directly hit, it just knocks down. So I was like, okay, now I gotta stay out of Scourge range with the Warhog. So then that put him in charge threat, and like I should have measured that, and like if I had recognized that earlier, maybe I would have feeded that turn.
Yeah.
But then, like, you're mat 7, my hog is just a 12, so you need 8s.
Yeah, even under feed, it's just a little over the average. So it's not, I think, like, if you had feeded it, it's almost like we watched it play out because of how
But then you would have been neg 5 POW instead of just neg 2 from the Agonizer.
Yeah.
Because, like, I didn't really... The Mortal Fear didn't work on your Jackal, and the Zealots, it just basically meant that their blast damage was useless. Mm-hmm. Whereas before, like, it could do something with Hermit more reliably, like you would still need 8s.
Yeah, for sure. I do think that this list or this concept for Malekus is really interesting. I actually, like, when I built this list, I was, just kind of spitballing at the wall and was like, I want to see these Zealots because, I think they've got some kind of business in the game. But then the more I started looking at War Room and what I could do with Malekus in terms of, like, the feat and everything, I was like, I never looked at a Revelator so closely in my entire life as I did when I started playing this game, when we sat down to try and figure it out. The Revelator has 4 guns that are all fire type. 2 of them are range 14, POW 12, which isn't a big deal when you think about it, but when you stack the choir battle bonus for 14, then you can get the Menite Archon to pull those up to 16, and then when you're on feat turn with Malekus, you're getting additional die, so if you want to boost beyond that, you can. But there's just a lot of bonus to that, and his other guns are they're higher POW than that, so you can get those guns up to POW 6 or POW 18, maybe POW 20. I think they start out at POW 16.
I thought they were 14s, but we can look instead of just kind of...
Yeah, they're POW 15, so we split the difference.
Yep, so they would be POW 19s, 21 if you can get Hermit up there somehow.
Yeah, so there's a lot of interest, at least to me, with the Revelator and having all those guns. The thing that blows is that he doesn't quite hit super accurately, but you can save the focus that you would get from the boosts for the damage roll for hitting, and if you are tying that in with Reckoners, I know that this starts to get a little bit points intense where you're trying to bring flares, and we've all been spoiled with Judicators and their
super hand of fate. Where it's like, Def 17, I trivially hit that with a boost.
Exactly. There was a game that I played in. It was the last tournament in Madison before the pandemic stuff started really getting close to landing on us. So it was done when it wasn't even a thought on anyone's mind. But I ended up assassinating Shay behind a wall with a Judicator in my hands, in my Warriors of the Old Faithless. So of course I had double Hands of Fate on it, but it was just like a really interesting exercise and then scattering onto like I killed 7 Precursor Knights that were in Shield Wall with just scatter.
Well, yeah, double Hand of Fate does that.
Yeah, it was nasty. So the Judicator does, like, it feels like if you're, well, why are you looking at the Revelator? And the Judicator just feels like you plug it in instead and it's better. But I feel like the Revelator actually has game with Malekus, and if you do happen to come across anything with stealth in it, any other stuff you have can really bring some weight down on that. I do really absolutely like the Deliverer Sunburst crews with him too, because then you're able to get those up to POW 17, and with the Arms Master you get the reroll on damage or hit, and typically with range 16 you can aim with that. So the only thing that I would say is that I really wish that some theme in Protectorate gave you 2 Deliverer Masters for 1 requisition, because I feel like they just don't have, like, the whole package that costs 8 points, like, it's not bad, but I really wish there was one that gave you 2 of those for a rec option.
That's surprising. You would think that there is one.
Yeah, there isn't one that does that, and there's not one that gives you weapon crews as requisitions, because I would take that as a concession. But if you're really, like, hankering to play something different, because I do feel like Malekus brings a different game to Protectorate that they really haven't had before. I mean, it's a lot of really great shooting that he pumps up a lot. It's like having Nemo 3 in Protectorate, but just not as good. He's probably just...
He's like the love child of Fiora and Nemo 3.
I guess I could take that. I think that...
just the feat-wise. Like, the rest of his stuff, solid.
Yeah, no, it's great. Like, I think Malekus definitely came out in very much like the top 3 of the battle box casters at the end of everything.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And that's if you exclude Ragnar and Krissa, because they were done outside of this migration.
Yeah, they're automatically the best too, but they got a full Sid, so that's definitely way different.
Yeah. But I do think, like, Malekus is up there in this one. Xekaar is very much up there. But then I also think the one that gets put into the discussion is Kozlov.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And then, like, I really enjoyed playing Xekaar. Like, I didn't get to leverage as much of his kit. Like, didn't really get to leverage the Death Archons, because, like, he was really solid with the update. But now I think Death Archons make him even better. Because now, like, just what you can do with them, with the Paingiver Taskmasters getting up to POW 17, then you can Mortality stuff to negate Tough, which is one of their weaknesses, and that makes them like Mat 9 Annihilator against the living, and they just basically, they shut down infantry so hard that your battle group can focus on the heavy lifting, and they can still plunk a heavy with 2 POW 19s with Mortality. My one complaint, or not one complaint, I got a couple complaints, is Xekaar is Fury 6, because he's a beast caster. Like, he's like Abby 2. He's this beast caster. He's got Alpha Hunter. And Privateer Press really loves beast casters to be Fury 6, because that shows, like, okay, they run a battle group, but they're not higher Fury, because, like, once you hit 7, 8, you're more of, like, a spell caster and not, like, a beast caster. But the problem with him is he wants to be casting spells to proc Alpha Hunter, because, like, he has a good spell list. Like, he wants the Mortality, he wants the Deadweight, he wants to get a Pursuit out there. But now all of a sudden, like, you're only magic ability 6, So like I always the whole game I'm like, okay, boosting into combat once the lines engages, like I need 10s. Even like on a regular def, like say a def 13, def 14 heavy, that means I need a 7 or an 8. Like so I still got a boost because I need that. Even with Maltreat going up to Fury 7 effectively, it's just like
it's the stat that needs to change, not so much like getting if it was Maltreat and Focus 7, then maybe it would be an issue, but like just getting him Focus or Fury 7 probably would have been fine.
Yeah, I would be much happier with Fury 7 and no Maltreat than Fury 6 and Maltreat, because like one of the issues that came up into this game was like I'm Focus 6 or Fury 6, like I knew I was going to have to shunt down to the bottom zone because Brian's battle group was so up on top and they were going to be able to bully me out. So I knew like I couldn't affect that far of the board, and maybe they kept him Fury 6 just because of his feet. But like
that, well, there were. It's almost like they probably could have. I don't know. I think this would be a unique rule where he would have the extra focus or the extra fury stat for being able to cast, but not for his like thing. Like maybe he could have gotten like a fancy like fake vet leader for him rule where he could get like +1 to casting.
I mean, like, is his feet too powerful at 14 inches? Like, I'm not sure if it is. Like, it's a -3 mat, rat, strength, and frenzy and threshold checks. Like, the threshold part will rarely come up unless your opponent runs hot, and they should know it's coming. Like, they're like, oh, if I run hot, they're gonna feat and try and frenzy checks. Like, usually fury management's not an issue for like any of the factions, so I'm gonna like ignore that part of the feat. It really only matters in like battle box games.
Yeah.
But like -3 strength, -3 mat, -3 rat. So basically it's a pseudo +3 def, +3 arm feat.
It's like a weird Denny feat.
Yeah.
Like just not as actively effective. It's more defensively effective, I think.
Yeah, it's got like one better on the swing, but it's only in his controller. So like the rat, unless he's playing super far forward, the rat, or you're playing range 6 dudes like this game, the -3 rat isn't as like impactful. You're usually playing it for the -3 mat. That's why I brought like a brute for def 13 or my death archons at def 14. Like you're trying to swing it that way, but then at that point, like, isn't that basically what Fiona's feat is? Like you're dropping a die on attack and damage rolls.
Yeah, I was gonna say Jalam's pretty close to similar in that vein with dropping dice.
The one less die to hit.
Yeah,
for him.
yeah.
But then like that's all models. They don't have to be in his control.
Mm-hmm.
So like I guess it's comparable. Like maybe his feat is too good at 14. It's just like that focus, that Fury status 7 would have helped him out so much.
The more I think about it, the more I'm like, I don't think that the difference between 14 and 12 in this game is really not that big. Like when I think about like trolls, really, like taking my Focus 5 or my Fury 5 Warlocks up to a 12-inch control area, it feels the difference between 10 and 12 is massive, but the difference between 12 and 14 doesn't feel that big of a deal.
When you have like offensive feats, it does, because then like you get things like Grim 1, where he's a 6 up to a 14. Like if that feat can be 14, I definitely think Xekaar can go up to Fury 7 for his feat.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been disappointed to see it. I think that Xekaar, even at Focus 6 or Fury 6, is still a really strong caster. I think maybe even to the point where he could make it into some competitive Skorne plays or competitive Skorne pairings, but they've also kind of got a Crix thing going on where they're like cream of the crop is like way up there.
Yeah, that's the problem. Like he competes with some really good, but otherwise, like one of the lists at like I was asking some of the Minnesotians, and one of them suggested like why not just play him in Exalted, because now you have like him in Exalted kind of does what Zal does, but against melee. Now all of a sudden, like your Supreme Guardian, your -3, -5 with the Agonizer, -7 if you take a Death Archon behind it. So like you can park him behind that, and then you get Arc Nodes, which help him cast a little bit more safe in that theme. That's the problem with this theme I played in. Like the only Arc Node is the Gator for 10, and like
yeah, no one wants to be putting Blind Walkers into their Skorne lists.
Yeah, it's just too many points. So like,
and at speed 4, like how good of an Arc Node
5.
are you? Oh, I'm sorry.
Speed 5, but the Animus trample 8.
Gotcha.
But then like you're spending 10 points to arc. But whereas in Exalted, you get the little 2-point arc node with
Yeah,
the
just
plus 2 to hit.
the little stone lady.
Yeah, like you get the plus, you get a telemetry solo that is an arc node, so it's like...
Well, and that's, now that you're talking about the Blind Walker, it's like, yeah, he needs to go first in order to arc through him, which is really unfortunate. But yeah, I think there's some interest in the Exalted play with him. You end up getting a caster that's quick and can actually do some things in combat, whereas with Zal, it seems like if he's getting into combat, it's either your opponent's overcommitted in a weird way or you're playing a very strange game.
Yeah, well, but Zal like still has that pocket assassination run with all the spells, but
and his
then
little vengeance, yeah.
But Xekaar can like throw up a mortality, so he helps their damage, and like he helps them survive the melee alpha, because now all of a sudden like I can't. I'm trying to pull up their card really fast while I'm talking, but it's not working.
For the Exalted?
Yeah.
Or like just the Immortals, right? They're like, aren't they 10-17 or something like that? Or 11-17?
Like, I thought they were 11-17.
I'm pretty sure 11-17 sounds about right for their stat line. But that makes them like now.
They are 11-17.
Now there's a chance that a good chance that you're going to miss them when you're coming into them. Whereas with a normal Zal Exalted list, it's like the most sure thing in the universe that you're going to be hitting Immortals all day, because there's really no way for you to slow that down. But with Xekaar, you're turning them into pseudo 14 defense, which is really, really tough.
But then you can take the UA to make them def 16 in melee effectively. So now like they are very resilient against melee, because like with all the buffs you're stacking, like it's only like a little aura, because of course Zal's is a 14-inch aura, whereas Xekaar has to be up there getting the enemy in, and then like it's only 12 inches.
Well, and with Zal, sometimes it feels like you're derping up the table until you can pull out the like 15 Sundering Spirit Assassination. But with Xekaar, you get to play a little bit more of an active game, I think.
Yeah, like I'd like to try out that list. I wanted to play Disciples of Agony to try and showcase more of his kit, because I thought if I played Exalted, it was more of Exalted with Xekaar.
Yeah.
And this is Xekaar showing off in Disciples of Agony.
Yeah, and I think that this is a good theme for him. It doesn't mean that like one's better or worse than the other, but
it's just the arc node is so hard to pass up.
It is.
But then you don't get double Death Archons, and then you don't get minion beasts, and like, man, after like looking through Disciples of Agony, like I don't know how you can pay for a Titan once you have access to a Warhog
and a free Terrorizer, because what do you need the arc node or the rush bot for from the Gladiator?
It's just like the Warhog is, like, in my opinion, is so much better than the Titans.
It's more point sufficient and it's faster, so that's a big thing, is that it's faster, and it's like defensive stats are tilted in the way where like with the Titans, you're gonna hit them at defense 10, and armor 19 is not that hard to break. It's a little more resilient, but that 12-18 stat is something where like you can actually start flipping some of those to where you miss sometimes, maybe you might not break sometimes.
And it's just POW 18 all the time with aggression dial, and then like now you have and rage on top, so now it's just POW 20, and then it's like you could take a Blind Walker in this list. I didn't. I opted for a second Roadhog, and then all of a sudden like you got Fury, aggression dial, and rage. So now all of a sudden it's like you got a +8 swing.
Yeah.
Or no, 3 + 2 + 2. It's a 7 POW swing.
It's a big deal.
9 with mortality, and then possibly 11 with Hermit. I'm not factoring in Hermit because
it's hard to apply that.
Hermit in this like theme hugs around Xekaar because like you have sack pawn minion models, so it's like what you can do in Secret Masters. You're like, haha, the first 6 shots are going to the Hermit.
Yep.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah, so he gets to stay pretty resilient. But overall, I think Ethan and I are both excited about a lot of these battle box changes, and I know we'd like to probably do more of these, but for sure, getting Protectorate on the channel with Malekus was fun, even though I think in hindsight I would have really liked to have tried that Revelator list. And seeing Xekaar do something other than be a meme was also really cool. I think both these lists played really well and showed well for themselves in terms of the changes that have happened recently.
Mm-hmm. And then, did you want to talk about the Death Archon and our thoughts about that? Or we're going pretty long on this.
I think we're probably like at least an hour and a half by now. So we'll save the Death Archon for the next time. We'll save it for the Shay game where we decide to Storm Rage our Death Archons.
I'm waiting to play them in Will Work or Blind Walker with Maylock, or you can Storm Rager them and feed them with Azalo and will work for food. It's just like, ugh.
Yeah, pretty nasty.
Disgusting.